Gigi's kitchen table. Gigi's kitchen table. Gigi's kitchen table. Sit on down with Gigi. Listen to her stories. Life and faith and wisdom. Yeah, you know you need some. Gigi's kitchen table. It's your favorite fable. She's just getting started, pouring out her heart. Sit on down with Gigi, listen to her stories. Life and faith and wisdom, yeah, you know you need some. Gigi's kitchen table. Gigi's kitchen table. Gigi's kitchen table.
Welcome back to another Gigi's Kitchen Table podcast. Before we get into our topic, I want to go ahead and say I am sorry that we are 2 weeks behind on this podcast and our episodes and everything. I'm not going to get into detail, but it's been a busy week, and we're going to catch up. We're going to keep moving forward. We're going to get this done and do the best that we can, but I appreciate your patience. Today we're going to be talking about leadership, and the idea of this message came because of us doing this podcast and how much time that it takes for me to be able to do all of the different things that I'm doing, and for me to be able to step in the leadership of doing this podcast. Stepping into leadership isn't about titles or power. It's about serving and surrendering. Leading the way that Jesus did. We're going to talk about what it means to step into leadership, what you have to do, give up, and accept if you want to guide and teach others the way that Jesus wants. Gigi, when you think about stepping into leadership, what do you believe God expects from someone who leads?
I think He expects humility. You've got to have some knowledge of what you're leading. So He expects service. And He expects you to be committed to Him.
So leadership doesn't begin with wanting to be in charge, and I there's a lot of people that find I don't want to say find that issue, don't find that issue, honestly, and try to step into certain leadership roles, and it's more about being the person who makes the calls than it is about actually being a true leader. It begins with surrendering to God's direction. We are called to serve.
Yes.
Before we lead, just as Jesus did. We got a couple verses here if you want to read a couple of those.
Yeah. If you're not willing to serve, you will not be a good leader, because a leader serves the people that they lead. They serve them. And so if you're not willing to be a servant, you won't be a good leader. And there's, like you mentioned and you said, that about the mental attitude. If you're going into service because you want to be the one who makes all of the decisions, you want to be the one that's important, you want the power, and all that, you're not going to be a good leader. You're not a leader. So
we'll start right here with John 13:12 through 15.
Oh, okay.
Because I feel like this verse right here, like of what Jesus is doing here, describes exactly what you're saying as being able to be that leader, but at the same time showing that being a servant is what you're supposed to do. I'll go ahead and let you continue that verse.
John 13:12 through 15. This is the King James Version. Says, so after he had washed their feet and had taken his garments and was set down again, he said unto them, know ye what I have done to you? You call me Master and Lord, and you say, well, so I am. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. Now, I want to say something about that right there. I don't know how many people out there have ever washed somebody else's feet in that manner, in that serving manner, but I have. And I have done that on several occasions. And it's so humbling. That is a humble thing to do. Because if you wash somebody's feet, that means that you are down on the at their feet. Okay? Just think about that. All right? You are at the feet of somebody else, and you are washing their feet. You're at their feet, and you're kneeling down at somebody's feet. That's a humble place to be. And that is really, in other words, you're putting yourself lower than that person.
And if we take it into that same context, back to in this time when Jesus did it, they're wearing strapped sandals walking on dirt and nasty roads. So like the feet that you washed probably came out of a tennis shoe.
Yes.
The feet that he was washing
and didn't need washing.
The feet he was washing were dirty.
Yeah.
Dirty.
And he said if it's something that he needed to do, as an example to us, that ought to tell you how important it is to not necessarily. I don't mean that you have to go and wash everybody's feet that you see. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that to serve somebody else.
Matthew 20:26 through 28 says, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. The King of Kings, the forever kingdom that was prophesied about, didn't come down and force his kingdom. He came down as a servant. and served his people. So you must be able to give yourself like that. Not, like you said, not just washing your feet, but be the person that's willing to speak up when somebody needs that help. Be the person to be able to talk to a friend when they're going through a struggle. Be the person to plant the seed when you know that God needs to intercede. You have to be able to lower yourself humbly, even to those you struggle to forgive a couple of podcasts ago.
So yes, those are usually the ones that we really have to humble ourselves to.
And for the King of Kings to put himself on his hands and knees and wash each of these men's feet in a circle all the way around.
Well, this verse, if you take this verse in the context where it is, and where Jesus washed somebody's feet, it's that he had entered this house and they didn't wash his feet. Okay? And so that's why he said that they should have washed his feet, because that was the normal practice of that time, was that somebody washed your feet when you came into the house, because, like you said, of the dirt and the on their feet. So they didn't do that to him like they should have. So he's going, this is what you're supposed to do. I'm going to show you what, and with the humbleness of it.
So why do you think Jesus connected leadership with service?
Because if you're not willing to serve, you're not going to make a good leader. And that's why I think he connected leadership with service, because that's what a leader is. He's a servant, like I told you before. A leader serves the people that he leads. He doesn't just tell people what to do. He serves them. And that's how a true leader leads, is he sets examples, and he serves the people and their need. That's what a real leader does.
What does that teach about the kind of hearts leaders should have?
That teaches us that in order,
A humbled heart.
yes, you got to have a humble heart, and serve with a willingness to do what somebody else don't want to.
Gigi, what do you think are some things people have to give up or let go of when they step into real leadership under God?
Pride, self, I'm looking for, self-pride, looking at yourself, and wanting to put yourself ahead of everybody else. That's you got
like
to,
a personal agenda.
Yeah, you've got to. What you're going to have to give up is yourself, and pride, and
Comfort.
Yeah.
Control.
Exactly. Comfort and control, and your own agenda, like you said, and not being able to do everything your way.
So to emphasize it in a quick blurb, surrender to God's will.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to surrender to God's will.
You can't do it in your own pride. You can't make it about your own personal agenda. You can't force your own control around it. And you're going to have to give up your comfort. And once again, this is kind of the reason why I dove into this. I've been working on this podcast with us. We do the Bible study on Tuesday as well. This book just got published, and I've been working behind the scenes on promotion and making sure that all of the free books that we're going to be giving out have the letters typed up and printed so they can all go inside and they're all given out. On top of that, at church, I just went through the next steps of being able to become a leader over there, and my goal is to be able to start a leadership role there as well. And I'm running out of time, Gigi. I gotta start surrendering a lot of my comfort and time and to be able to keep giving the way that I want, that I know that I'm called to give. I know that I'm called to give myself like this, and it feels great to be able to do it, but
it's hard.
And it's so easy to just give up on doing it. Like I said, we're another week behind on the podcast, and which technically puts us 2 weeks behind on the podcast overall. But I'm not worried about that. We still were able to find a way to be able to work it to where we had a scheduled time to be able to do this. We're still able to have our Bible study, and we've been able to work around the time on it. It's not the fact that I had to give up doing the podcast, because that's not what I wanted to do. I know this is something that is going to help somebody. So God called me to do this podcast. I gotta sacrifice my comfort for God's will to make sure this podcast happens. Take it step by step. Don't force anything, but at the same time, still keep taking those steps. We do have a couple verses there if you want to read.
Well, we start. Okay, this Romans. Which one you want me to do?
Oh, you're doing Romans? Go ahead, you're good. I don't have the Romans on my sheet.
You don't have this one here?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I kind of like this one. It says Romans 12:1 and 2, and this is again the King James Version. It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies, okay, a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Okay? So those comforts that you wanting to fall into about instead of doing a podcast, or instead of maybe working up some verses for Bible study, or coming to Bible study, whatever, those comforts of that, God's telling you that you need to present your body, us, okay? He said, know ye, it says, present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. I think a key thing in this verse here is renewing of your mind. Because, before we come to know Jesus, we have a worldly mind. And we think in worldly ways and that. And God says that we need to renew our mind and think. In renewing our mind, we think godly things and what would Jesus do and that kind of thing. And let's let's read this one. What do you think?
The Matthew 25 through 28.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It says, but Jesus called him unto him and said, you know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise a dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you. But whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. And whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many. In other words, we need to give ourselves to others. We need to give of ourselves.
Which leads into a verse that I do have here, Philippians 2, 3 through 8. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interest of the others. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross.
Mm-hmm.
Christianity stands for Christ-like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Christ did for us.
Yeah, because death on a cross is a very painful way to die.
Very.
Yeah.
The suffocation, the way that they were pierced, and a lot of people talk about the hands were pierced and everything. No, they came through the wrist, and it wasn't a direct straight line through the wrist. What they did was they came at an angle from the head of the nail was aimed towards the fingertips. It was almost like a 45-degree angle. If your hands straight out, do about a 45-degree angle out, and that's where the angle was at the base of his wrist. And then from there, it went through his arm at an angle into the cross to hold. And that's how they pierced. It wasn't just straight through, because that would rip easy.
Right out, yeah.
Whew.
It's very painful. So, and that's why it says even to death on the cross, because the sacrifice, now Jesus knew what that was going to be like. He knew the suffering that was going to take place. And he willingly did that for us. And you can take that as a servant, you know, he did that for us.
You want to hear true power of God and Jesus' voice? Before Jesus even touched the cross, he said in Matthew 16:24-25, "Then Jesus said to his disciples, 'Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it.'" Before he even went to the cross, he was telling everybody, we're all going to have to pick it up and carry it and follow me. And then he does it literally in front of them all. How do we learn to surrender control as leaders, especially when it feels like everything depends on us?
How do we learn to surrender control? By doing it. By surrendering control. It's and if you truly have a servant's heart and really want to serve as a leader, you do surrender control. You do what's best for the people that you're leading. What's the best thing for them, not for you.
When you're leading others, how do you balance love and correction? Caring for people, but also holding them accountable.
Holding somebody else accountable is hard because you got to hold yourself accountable, and that's for a lot of people. Just holding yourself accountable for your actions is really difficult. So to hold somebody else accountable is you got to be willing to possibly, if it's a friend, to lose them as a friend. Because when you start holding people accountable for things, they're not basically going to like it, to a degree.
A real friend isn't going to lie to you.
That's true.
They're going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And if you don't like the truth, then that's on you.
Yeah. Well, you can't hold somebody accountable for something if you're not willing to be accountable yourself. You have to be accountable for your own actions and your own things that you do, and the people that you are leading see that. So if you're holding them accountable, then you're holding yourself accountable. You got to hold yourself accountable to hold somebody else accountable, so they'll be receptive. They can see that it's your heart is where it should be for them. Like I said, you're thinking of the other person.
I have to be able to hold them accountable with the truth, but at the same time, give them the same grace that Jesus gave me by taking up his cross.
Yes.
I need to be able to lead exactly as Jesus led, with truth and grace together. We have a couple verses there if you want to read one of those. I also have a couple right here in NIV if you want to do it instead of King James.
I like the NIV. Okay, it says, I'll read this. Mark 10:43 through 45, and says, "But so shall it not be among you, but whosoever will be great among you shall be your minister." I think you kind of read this a minute ago about that. And whosoever of you will be the chief shall be the servant of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many. Galatians 5:13 and 14 says, "For brethren, ye have been called unto liberty. Only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." Now, ye have been called unto liberty. What is liberty?
Justice. Same thing here. Just a couple verses down into Galatians 6, 1 through 2. It says, "Brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently."
Not accusing.
Not accusing, not "I told you so's," not making them feel bad about what they did. Gently. "But watch yourselves, or you also may be tempted. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ." So I have a lot more for us to talk about, but we are coming close to the end of this session for this podcast. So what we're going to do is go ahead and make this a part A and part B. This will be part A. Come back next week and we'll have part B where I finish asking the questions. I'll make sure that I read this verse again for everybody so we're fully caught back up. Let's go ahead and close out with prayer and we'll end it here. God, thank you for letting everybody be able to find a place to be able to come to know you. Thank you for the time that I get to spend with my grandmother to do these podcasts and be able to sharpen the stone of my faith with her, somebody who's been there and looked through the Bible and read through the Bible more times than I have, and someone who's lived a little bit more life than I have. Please help me work on the things that I still need to work on and the things that still get to me. Thank you for every step that you've worked with me to get farther. Thank you for everything that you've had me do. Thank you for the path that I've walked. Thank you for all of it. Thank you for all of our listeners. Please listen and bless them and be with them as they go through their week. In Jesus' name, amen. I want to say thank you again, guys, for coming in and listening. Quick blurb. My book is officially out. It's there. You can go and see it. It's on Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, my personal bookshop. My testimony about my life. But we could talk about that story later. once again, thank you guys for coming, and I can't wait to see you next week at the table.
Gigi's kitchen table. Gigi's kitchen table. Gigi's kitchen table. Sit on down with Gigi. Listen to her stories. Life and faith and wisdom. Yeah, you know you need some. Gigi's kitchen table. It's your favorite fable. She's just getting started, pouring out her heart.